If somebody killed one of your family members, you have the right to be upset. But imagine killing generations of your family and then the land too. You can be upset forever.
My family is East African and my brother is dating a white woman. He would like to marry her, but my parents are completely against this. Does this make them racist?
Sorry. I'm sorry. Anybody want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. I think with especially first generation immigrants, they come from a different type of mentality of like protecting their children. They come from a like base needs type of mindset. So if they're against it, it's probably because they want to preserve what's core to them. So like their traditions, their language, like etc. Right? So from that perspective, I don't think they're seeing this is a white woman coming into our family and that's not what we want. They're seeing, you know, how are these children going to be raised and how is what we've come from going to be passed down to these children from someone who doesn't know or understand our culture and where we come from.
But who's to say that the person can't be integrated or to be introduced to a new way of culture? Like children adapt and learn. They're born into the family and then the culture is built around them. Cool. But like in a relationship too, who's to say that somebody who is not from the same race can't learn to be a part of that family?
I just don't want to teach anybody that. I just don't have the time. Yeah, it's I've never been interested in ever being with someone, forget white, who's not Black, personally, because I just feel like there's a lot of just relationships I have with white people, whether it's work or friendships throughout my life. You're teaching them things. You're teaching them things. They're like shocked about stuff you go through. They simply just don't get it. They're also not able to easily recognize racism. So like we've all been there where we have that gut feeling like, why is this person treating me like I can't put my finger on it as a child. And then as an adult, you're like, that was racism. Should have never went through that. Yeah, like that's a problem. But I feel like they don't have that understanding. So I just can't build a life with someone while educating them on these things when it's just like completely normal to me. And when there are relationships that I could I guess build where I don't have to do that type of work, they just get what I'm saying. Like imagine for example, you're married to somebody who's white, and then so your child's obviously gonna be Black if you're raising children together. And then they experience like racism at school and they don't get it. They're like, well, I don't know. I don't think that's what's happening. I think maybe it's just like, and you yourself know. So not only are you super emotional about the way your child is being treated, and that is like hurting you, but now you have to explain to this whole person that you built a life with what's going on. And not only that, argue or even convince them. That is ridiculous to me. I can't.
So do people go into relationships like with the mindset that like, okay, these are the potential things that can happen when we get married. But like, what about like if you're actually head over heels for this person and the person is also head over heels for you? Do you think that you can bypass that and just kind of like go with the experience as things happen instead of like pre-calculating, my child comes out this way, then this is going to happen, this might happen, this occur. You kind of get what I mean? It's a relationship. So
yeah, but for me, part of what I fall head over heels over is Blackness.
Hey.
But I think that's what I don't know. But on top of that, but wait, so the whole point about like dating essentially is to choose a partner, right? And so when you're going through the process of choosing a partner to help you raise a family, these are things you think about of how are we going to raise these children together? What values are we going to instill in them? What traditions are we going to teach them, right? And so, but I think with our generation and the younger generation, we get so infatuated by love that we skip those essential processes. And our parents know that. Right? So I think when parents are stepping in, because that was the whole point of this, it's the parents, when they're stepping in and they're voicing something like that, it's because they're seeing something that person is missing, that those core values and the reason that you're engaging in this marriage, not just for love is great, but all of the other tools that you need to make a marriage work, including what you'll need to know to to pass on to these children. That's the concern they're voicing. Is it's great to be in love, it's great to have affection for each other, it's an important part of a relationship. What about the rest of the stuff?
I feel like the question though is saying like that the parents are just like against it.
Yeah.
Like the parents are against it.
Yeah.
So I think it's wrong that the parents are against it. But I don't think that it's racist. The question's like, is it racist?
Right.
I don't think it's racist at all. I 100% agree with Inaz. Like when you're saying that they're just worried about like the kind of life that the kids are going to have, the kind of like difficulties and miscommunications that you're going to have with your partner. And I think that that's super normal for parents to have. Like, especially like I'm East African, like if we're talking about like, you know, marrying a white woman like in Canada, like that is, you're gonna have a very different life. And when it comes to like, you know, keeping the culture, like understanding, you know, are your kids gonna speak the language? Are they ever gonna go back? Like, are you still gonna wanna have like a connection with your culture as you also integrate into a brand new family, like this white woman's family? Like that's gonna be like right. Your family too. And I think that as immigrants, like many immigrants didn't leave because they didn't like their countries. They left because of conditions like that, you know, neoliberalism put on the countries that we're from. Like if there were opportunities where we're from, many of us wouldn't have immigrated to Canada. So when it comes to like, you know, wanting to preserve the culture, I don't think that that's racist at all. I think it's like a consequence of like growing up, living, raising your kids, and now seeing your kid really integrate into an inherently like racist society. That's the issue, not the parents trying to look out for their kids.
I think to add to your point, I think it's interesting the way we just use the word racism, and we use it in a way that's very wishy-washy. And by using it in that way, as a person of color, it doesn't make sense for your parents to be racist. Because if you look at the structure of society, people of color are always put at the bottom. So how does that work? How can you be racist to a white person who has more privilege and more power than you?
Period.
That makes no sense. Yes, they have the right to be upset about it because they're white. They have the right to be upset about it for generations. You know, if you have to move to a different country because your country was ruined by Western colonialistic liberalism, you could be mad forever, because that ruining of that country does not just come in you as a person, it comes in your family, it comes in the economy, it comes in the land, it comes in the environment. And so if somebody killed one of your family members, you have the right to be upset. But imagine killing generations of your family and then the land too. You can be upset forever. And if you choose to see that being upset as a way of protecting your child from fears of worrying about how to like manage, because you're kind of going to be walking on eggshells with your partner if they are not similar to you, because you're going to be like, oh, do you understand what I'm talking about? And you're not going to be like, this bitch just did, you know, because it's a different vibe, because you have to make sure that they're comfortable. And sometimes your parents want you to skip that comfortability and just be able to be you. And so I feel like they can never be racist for it because they are people of color. And the way I see racism and the way racism is structured does not make sense that way. But if they don't want you to marry it, it makes sense. Like, I'm not saying it's right, but I understand it.
But you also don't have to listen.
True.
Right? Like that's the other part of that, right? Is that they're voicing their opinion, their concerns. I don't think anybody's saying that they're saying this marriage cannot happen. Right? I think they're saying like, look, we're not okay with it for X, Y, and Z, which I think is a different story. Sometimes we have a habit of not looking at our parents as people and seeing them as our parents, and therefore like villainizing them sometimes in the wrong way, when really they're just doing their job.
Yeah. You got anything to add in?
Cool.